Hi, my name is Michael Waits. Thank you for joining us for this very special edition of Insurance for the New Possible. We are broadcasting live from the Chubb Insurance booth at the Singapore Fintech Festival, the largest fintech festival in the world and a knowledge platform for the global fintech community. We could not be more excited to be here. Now let's welcome Isabella Carvalho, Head of Digital APAC at Chubb, with whom we will discuss designing for tomorrow, crafting insurance for the future population. Insurance for the New Possible is back live at the Singapore Fintech Festival. Isabella, how are you?
I'm doing great. What about you?
I could not be better. It's great to have you back on the show. Let's just jump right into this. And I think this is something that you've actually said to me. Is it the journey that is driving conversion in insurance, or is it the relevance? And actually, more importantly, what should it be and how should it be?
Yeah, this is a very important question because, as you know, we sell a lot of embedded insurance,
Right?
which means that our insurance is in path of a different journey that the customer is already undertaking, right?
Right.
So some may argue that customers will be taking up that insurance simply because it's that in front of them.
Right.
And there is some truth to that, right?
Right. And that's is it the journey or the relevance part of it? Go
So
ahead.
that's the point. So,
Right.
however, if it wasn't relevant, would people really buy it?
Right.
So at the end of the day, it's really a mix of both elements. So that's the point, right? And as we move towards a second wave of insurance where we want to educate people to understand their needs, then the relevance aspect becomes even more important than the journey. Because embedded insurance and journey-driven conversions, they are important for entry-level type of insurances. When we start to show people that they actually need insurance and that insurance will be important for them to hedge for their risks. Once they understand that better, then they can go one step forward. And this step forward is driven by relevance.
Can you give me an example of I love this word. I wrote it down actually, journey-driven conversion. I think I'm going to have to use that in other parts of my life. Was this journey-driven conversion or was it relevant?
Yeah.
Michael, you're completely irrelevant. I think it's what most people will say. But can you give me a simple example of this and then one where it's actually relevant as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So one that is pretty relevant and led by journey as well is, for example, we work with a lot of e-commerce partners, the largest ones here in Asia, but also in Latin America, for example. Right. And when you're going to buy a phone online, right? Sometimes you're not buying directly from the brand, you're buying from a reseller. Right. So you need to trust that reseller. You need to trust the platform that you're buying. Right. So insurance is important in that trust mechanism because if something goes wrong, if the phone is not working, right? If there's a problem in shipping, you can have different insurance products that will be covering you against that risk. Now, the easiest way for you to buy the insurance product is at the same moment that you buy your phone. Yeah. Therefore, there you go, a mix of relevance and journey conversion, right? Because the moment you're buying your phone, you're going to see a little box that say, hey, look, there's insurance here for you. And you can opt in to that insurance and buy accordingly, right? And we sell quite a bit of those. I'm sure. Look, I bought a new phone 2 weeks ago. And I was offered insurance at the point of sale. And it's funny for me, right? Because my job is actually a big part of my life. And when I was there, I was just thinking, embedded, I love it. I love it because it's exactly what you're talking about, right? Yeah, and actually, when you think about like the job, your job is a great part of your life. The phone is a great part of most jobs. Exactly. Therefore, right, we need to have that protection for people. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting you say this, right? I could not live without my phone, and I barely use it as a phone. If you know what I mean, right? Absolutely. Yeah, but having it covered and protected is actually really important to me because if it goes down, I have problems, and I think this is true for everybody. I want to switch gears a little bit because I want to talk about tech. From a marketing perspective, something you also know well, how can we leverage new technologies to create and test different, what can I call them, messages? Yes. Again, ensuring we're targeting relevance again for really diverse audiences, right? It's a long question, but you know what I mean, right? What kind of tech can we use to get the right messages out to the right audience? Yeah, so let me give you an example that is related to the phone example, right? Okay. Imagine that you're buying a phone and then you see that box offering insurance. Right. If the box only says insurance, would you buy it? No, because I really wouldn't know what it was about. And also, it doesn't seem interesting to me. I may actually ignore it if it just said insurance, yeah? That's right. So this is a simple example, but it really says it all. Because if you say, instead of saying insurance, you say, if something happens to your phone, you're going to have a new phone in one day. Would you buy it?
Well, that's way more compelling to me.
That's
and
correct.
a completely different message. But is there a way to take that message? Remember, we said for diverse audiences. Is there a way to take that message and actually in the context of ChatGPT and artificial intelligence, a way to say the cohort for this person is a millennial, is a Gen Z. And instead of saying, you know, you may not be able to do your job, you say you may not be able to do your schoolwork. Can you do that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Because today we do a lot of A/B testing, which is showing different messages to different people or different prices to different people depending on the situation, right? In order to be able to increase conversion and relevance. Again, relevance comes again. However, with artificial intelligence, the amount of tests that we can do in a set period of time increases enormously.
Yeah.
And also it can be much more micro-focused. And this is when things become to be much more important and it's more interesting for the customer. And it's not only about the messaging that you see in that box, but it's about everything marketing related, right? If you see a banner, if you see...
Yeah, it's not just the word or the question.
Exactly.
Right, so for me, you may show somebody, you know, like a movie star from the 70s or 80s. But for like my daughter, you may show Taylor Swift. Or
That's
something
correct.
like that. You can do that with artificial intelligence.
Absolutely, because the first example you gave is really about text. However, of course, they're generating images as well, right? So from a marketing perspective, I think the opportunity is really endless from the point of view of content, from the point of view of relevance, and also speed to market.
Right.
Because typically those tests that we do, they might be a bit time consuming and resource consuming, but both from us as well as from our partners. And also, I remember all the time, right? We work with very, very big partners.
Right.
And their main business may not be insurance. And oftentimes it is not, most of the times, to be honest.
Right.
So why would they invest so many resources on the insurance business? So, of course, I still believe insurance is very important and helps them not only in terms of the commissions that they earn, but also in relevance of the product, as the example of the cell phone can give to you. But if we can make their lives easier, if they can invest in insurance, use insurance as a value proposition driver with less effort, that's a fantastic situation.
As an engineer, when new technologies get introduced, do you get even more excited about how can I use them? In other words, do you look at things from an engineering mindset and think, oh, I think I can use this in a way that maybe other people haven't thought of because I've been doing this engineer thought process for a while?
I mean, I'm always excited about technology, right? So
am I.
It goes without...
Engineering or not, right?
It goes without saying, right? So I'm a mechanical engineer. I used to do, aeronautics. So you leave me in an airport. I love the planes. I love to see how it works, right? So this is also translated to everything that is digital technology.
Right.
Of course, every time a new technology is introduced, people will be concerned on how this will affect their work, how this will transform things that we do. But humanity is about transformation.
Right.
We never stop, and we have never stopped in the past. So anxiety is normal. However, the potential is gigantic. So for me, I see the upside.
Right. I mean, I talk about this all the time. In my mind, everything is cyclical. And whether it's, we talked about this yesterday a little bit, whether it's electricity, whether it's automated production lines, every time something new gets introduced, people get nervous. And that's fair, right? Because they don't know yet. And to me, just being interested in the new tech leaves me less nervous because I think through the arc of history, it's always benefited humans and not detrimented humans.
That's correct.
That's just my feeling. Sorry, go ahead.
And at the end of the day, one thing that I think it's important as well for us to understand, right? Because we talk about, okay, AI will replace jobs. Perhaps it's true in certain aspects. However, the first people that may be replaced are the ones that are not using the AI to become more productive.
Exactly.
So if you're going to be replaced by someone, you're probably going to be replaced by a human that is using that technology better than you.
But the same thing. It's just the same
That's
thing
correct.
as the auto worker who's understood they're going to have an they're going to have an automated production line. I need to learn how to use these machines on the production line so that I can keep my employment. And I think AI is the same way. No?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can we talk a little bit more about this micro focusing as well? Because I think that's really interesting, not just from a marketing perspective, but even from a product development perspective.
Absolutely. So I think societies are evolving, right? So are the risks. So when I think about you, for example, right? You're creating content.
Every day.
Exactly. But imagine that instead of creating content for Insurance for a New Possible, for your podcast,
right,
you're creating content for TikTok. So you're a TikToker, you go to a bank and try to get a loan.
Right.
Would you be able to get this loan?
Probably not.
So that's the thing.
But even this, I remember when my daughter said to me, I'm going to go down to the mall and watch a YouTuber. I was like, this is silliness. So what do you think the bank thinks about a TikToker?
That's correct. So the point is, a lot of people who are doing TikToks, they have a lot of money.
Tons.
They have teams. This is really their job.
Yeah.
So they do not have access to financial products. And I gave the bank example, but insurance is the same, right? Because how can we protect, for example, their income? You know what I mean? They should have products that are protecting
Absolutely.
them against issues. It's okay if you have an accident, because your body, your content production is your life, right? Is what is generating income for you. So if you have a problem and you cannot do that anymore, you should be insured to make sure that you still have your earnings until you can produce your content again.
Right.
So this is one example where there is a void and we need to help. But there are many other examples, right? We just need to look at societal trends and try to fit those products in.
If we believe that the way people are working is changing, let me give you an example. I spoke to a team in India that is building an entire product, an entire platform around consolidating TikTokers, YouTubers, content creators into one place and providing them services. And I actually asked them, how many people are on the platform? 200,000 people.
Wow.
So I said to him, why don't you provide them with financial services as well? Because they can't get a loan and they can't get insurance. But since you have 200,000 of them in one place, maybe it's big enough to get group coverage. This is the way things are changing, no?
No, absolutely. Because there is an old concept in insurance, which are affinity groups.
Right.
At the end of the day, this is a new type of affinity.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. It's a new type of affinity.
Yeah.
But I think that makes it super interesting. And again, because the guy who's building that platform is not involved in the insurance business or in the finance business, he's looking at it from the other side. But I'm looking at it from down here and thinking, I know that they need financial services as well, but they can't get them.
That's correct.
Right? Because even for someone like I have my own company, but still getting a credit card or getting insurance is very difficult. Still possible, but very difficult. But when I was at Goldman, I didn't even have to think about it.
That's correct.
And that's the way the world is changing. I want to talk about pricing a little bit as well. And then maybe I'll let you go. Maybe not. What kind of strategies or technologies are being used to price insurance in a less looking back way and more in a predictive way?
Yeah, that's a very good point, because we were talking about, again, new technologies and data, how data is utilized.
Right.
And that's a very big opportunity, right? To underwrite people on the go, so that the different data points that you generate can help us to better assess your risk, right? And this will help us not only to be more precise in pricing, but also to be able, hopefully, to include certain populations that are now underinsured.
Right.
Right. So I give an example in health insurance. A lot of people that are overweight, above a certain age, with chronic illnesses, they have a hard time being insured.
Yeah.
But if you understand how they're taking care of themselves,
right,
you might be able to give them the products that they need. And as a matter of fact, I was looking at a study not a long time ago about some people who have chronic diseases, but they really do take care of themselves because of that disease.
Right.
And some argued that some of those folks may live much longer than the ones that in principle do not have any of the disease, simply because they are doing regular medical checkups, they're measuring their vitals, they're really taking care of themselves. So if you have this kind of profile of person, why would you exclude that person without better understanding that risk?
Right. But this is the thing about looking back, right? Or just using a table to do it. Because if you just say in the past, everybody with this particular chronic disease had this problem going forward.
Yes.
And were very difficult to insure. But the way we look at our health today, I mean, I wear this not for the time. I don't care what time it is.
That's right.
All kidding aside. But I wear it for my health. I check my heart rate, I run every day, and I measure everything here. And I feel like I'm pretty healthy. So when I go get insurance, I want to benefit from this. And I think that's different than it was in the 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s, yeah?
And at the end of the day, the population is getting older, right?
By definition,
Everyone will be chronic or multi-chronic. Are we excluding everyone? We cannot. So at the end of the day, we have to find a solution. And I think data, this is starting, right? This is a revolution yet to come. But now with the new tools that we have, I'm pretty sure we're going to be able to do it.
But you actually make a really good point. I hadn't thought about this, right? So we can go back to like prehistoric times and say nobody in prehistoric times died of cancer. But they didn't, because they didn't live long enough to get it. But I don't think it's that far away from what you're talking about today. You know, you used to die at 70 or 72, but now you could live until 90. right?
With relatively good health.
With relatively good health. Like I look at my own life and I'm thinking, I'm giving myself until 95. But on purpose, right?
Yeah.
But that hasn't happened in the past. We're at a very healthy time and unhealthy time at the same period. I get it. But that means that insurance should then be providable to that new cohort, right? As well.
Absolutely. And the reality is there are so many tech innovations that can help tackle aging, right?
Yeah.
Senolytics, new innovations in the healthcare environment. So perhaps, and I hope that we're going to give not only longer, but we're going to have a much longer health span.
Yeah, exactly.
And many of those diseases of aging, so you're talking about cancer, some kinds of dementia and other diseases that are associated with aging.
Right.
I really do hope for us, right, that technology is going to catch up. And
Probably more for me than for you, but
for me as well, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
That technology is going to catch up and we're going to have less and less of it, right?
Yeah.
So it's not only a problem that insurance and data for insurance will be able to tackle, but we need all industries to be aligned because at the end of the day, it's quality of life for all of us.
That is the perfect way to end.
Yeah.
Isabella, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate your time. You have to come back on the show again.
Thank you indeed.
Thank you.
Yes.
Don't forget to follow Insurance for the New Possible on your favorite podcast platform and on YouTube to stay up to date on all of our amazing and informative content.